Hello and welcome back to Planet Nibiru. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple more pieces of residual proof or residual evidence for the Mandela Effect. And I have found what I would call a curiosity as far as the Mandela Effect is concerned as well, and I would like to get you folks' opinion on it. It's something that I personally don't remember. However, the fact that there are two versions just is kind of strange to me, and I'd like to get your take on it. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the Volkswagen symbol, or the Volkswagen logo. We can see here, going all the way back to 1937 from the current logo, there has always been, supposedly, a line between the V and W. Now, my grandmother owned several Volkswagen Bugs, and I do not remember ever seeing a line between the V and the W. As a child growing up, there were many Volkswagen vans around back then, and I never remember seeing a line between the V and the W. So I do have some experience with Volkswagens, and to me, I just don't remember that. So, number one, I'd like to get you guys' opinion on that, and then I would like to show you guys these pieces of residual proof. So let's take a look. Now, of course, we have these pictures, and of course, pictures can be manipulated through Photoshop, so maybe these pictures aren't the smoking gun type of proof. However, let's take a look at this piece of video from the movie Knocked Up, where we can clearly see that they are driving down the road in a Volkswagen, looks like a Jetta, and they seem to be driving in a Volkswagen that has the wrong logo on it, because it does not appear that there is a line between the V and the W. Now, if we take another look at some video evidence, now video is harder to manipulate than images. Photoshop can be used on images, and then of course, there are programs like After Effects and things like that that you can use to create the same type of effects in video. However, this is a clip directly from Knocked Up. You can go and either find your copy of Knocked Up, or rent it, or borrow a copy, or download it, or go check out some clips on YouTube and see if you can find a version that has the line broken between there. So while you chew on this piece of video, let's go to another piece of video from another even more famous movie that I'm sure most of us have seen. Let's look at Back to the Future. This brings us two pieces of Mandela residue that, one piece of Mandela Effect and one is residue. So the first piece being that if you guys are like me, I don't remember there ever being a Volkswagen Bug in the movie. The terrorists, I remember being in a very pointy, boxy type van, had a pointy front and was very boxy. At the time when I first saw this, I would have not have known that it was a Toyota van. However, as time went on, I now recognize these vans as Toyotas, but I personally remember them being in a very pointy white Toyota van, and very similar to this one that we see on screen here. And nowadays they have the terrorists are in a Volkswagen van. However, if we look at this Volkswagen van, we can see that there's no break between the V and the W. Now, again, could this have been manipulated? Possibly. Sure, there are plenty of people out there who are good with After Effects or other video editing or video effect software, and it could be that someone has edited this. But go out there, I challenge you, go out there, find your copy of Back to the Future in your home, find a copy of this clip online, look at this clip, it looks the same. There looks to be no break between the V and the W. Very, very strange stuff. So that is a piece of residual evidence for or a couple pieces of residual evidence, I believe, in that proves that the Mandela effect exists and some things have changed. Now, another piece of Mandela effect evidence or residue would be the fact that in the assassination of JFK, the car, as many of us remember it, only had 4 seats or room for 4 people. There was not a second row or a third row placed in the middle of the 2 seats there. Many of us remember there being only 2 rows of seating. However, there are a couple of different museums in this country that have supposed exact replica cars that these museums are either JFK museums or the museums have a JFK exhibit in them, and that exhibit speaks to the assassination. And these 2 museums clearly show the car being a Lincoln, just like it was in the video and in the assassination. He was riding in a Lincoln. However, it is not a three-row car. They both have 2-row cars, and those being the front seat and back seat. There's not an extended. It's not like a stretch vehicle like we see in the assassination video. Now, is it possible that these museums just cut corners because they didn't want to build a replica car? Sure. But why go to all this trouble? Why create you could have a section on JFK without showing this last iconic assassination scene. You could show pictures of it, you could have video playing of it. Why put the car there if it's not an exact replica? It just is one of those things that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I can see there maybe being a reason for that because of the expense of recreating the stretch. Probably costs for $15,000 to $20,000 to stretch a car a few feet and put an extra seat in there. Now, if the car didn't have to run, maybe it would actually cost less. Maybe we're talking, $5,000, $7,000, $8,000 just to stretch it and the metal on the outside. But still, I can see that being a barrier for some museums, especially if they're not large and if they don't have the funds to do that. However, I think it would be much easier just to skip the assassination scene altogether and use other material to produce that experience in your museum without putting a car in there that doesn't exactly match the exact vehicle. So with that said, I would like to turn your attention to the final thing we're going to talk about today, and that is it's not a piece of evidence or residual evidence. I just find this as a curiosity, and I'd like to get you guys' opinion because it could be a piece of evidence. It could be something that has gone wrong, but it could also be just something that I haven't caught and that I didn't know existed. So I'd like to get the opinion of the broader community on this. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video, and I would love to hear back from you guys, especially on the Fresh Prince thing. Let me know what you think. If you remember that second version, and you remember that as the only version, I'd love to hear. If you remember both versions, like maybe perhaps they changed it from one season to the next, Love to hear that as well. Or if you are like me and you only remember the first version, please let me know down in the comment section. Also, any other comments on the other residual evidence that we've spoke about today are always welcome. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the community. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing and commenting. And we're having great conversations in the comment sections, and I appreciate everything you guys do. I have found what I would call a curiosity as far as the Mandela Effect is concerned as well, and I would like to get you folks' opinion on it. It's something that I personally don't remember. However, the fact that there are two versions just is kind of strange to me, and like to get your take on it. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the Volkswagen symbol, or the Volkswagen logo. We can see here, going all the way back to 1937 from the current logo, there has always been, supposedly, a line between the V and W. Now, hello and welcome back to Planet Nibiru. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple more pieces of residual proof or residual evidence for the Mandela Effect. And my grandmother owned several Volkswagen Bugs, and I do not remember ever seeing a line between the V and the W. As a child growing up, there were many Volkswagen vans around back then, and I never remember seeing a line between the V and the W.